Hello and welcome to episode 16 of War Down South, the fortnightly Warhammer podcast from the south coast of the UK. I am, as ever, your host, Callum Slater. And this week I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Sam Nice. No Ricky this week, unfortunately he has had to work, but it's quite a quiet week on the GW front, so Sam and I just spend some time answering some questions from the audience this week. Chatting about our favourite armies and just getting a bit of an old man reminisce on. So, take a seat, grab a stiff drink, let's roll. Fantastic, thank you for waiting, guys, and so Callum and Sam this week. No Ricky, he is crushed under the burdens of capitalism. How are you doing, Sam? You okay?
Yeah, all good, baby. Dream team. Whoop, whoop.
Dream team, exactly.
Ricky, now known as the Popular People's Front. Hashtag splitter.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's had to work this weekend, so no chance of getting him on, unfortunately. So I think we'll have like quite a nice svelte, quick episode this week. Not to say that Ricky causes any sort of bloat. It's mainly me, but there's one less person for me to talk at. So.
I mean, less wee breaks, you know.
yeah, sure. So how have you been? Have you been up to much over the last couple of weeks, Sam?
Oh, yeah, not massive amount of activity on the hobby front. I started on that Magmadroth kit, which I'm thoroughly enjoying, but I've just hit a dead stop due to work being really, really demanding the last 2 weeks. Other than that, I picked up a few extra Vault Warden teams to finish off the stupid list that I've been putting together for my Kingdom of Khazad-dûm list for Middle-earth. And my, what the bloody hell are they called? Death Shroud are just staring at me longingly from the table. Going, finish me, please. And it's not happened yet. What about you, mate? You been up to much?
No, I've sort of been floundering on the hobby front. Been like relentlessly just doing washes and red highlights on sisters, like for the past couple of weeks, like a couple of nights a week. Like no progress actually made. They don't look any different.
I feel your pain. I hit that same wall when I was painting my Marines. All that red.
Yeah, but like later on, once there's more prospect of them actually going to an event, like I'll kick myself into gear, but I'm sort of pushing them along. Yeah, other than that, just sort of trying to keep up to date with everything. Work's been quite busy, but I started finally. I literally dusted off my Archaon over the last couple of weekends, and there was a good pile of dust on him. So I took him off of his base and started to build a bunch of like multi-leveled Azerite ruins all smashed up and stuff below him. So that model is now like 20 inches tall, maybe. I don't know.
I was going to say that's kind of made him even bigger. Not that you could ever hide him anyway, so you can do what you want on his base, essentially, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. You don't get big line of sight blocking pieces of terrain in AOS. They're more movement blockers, so it doesn't really matter with him. But so I sort of dug out the bits to make my my Host Arcanum Disciples of Zinch army for AOS. I dug out all my Screamers and a few other bits and pieces, and then picked up the Zinch Demon Start Collecting box because it's got Screamers and Flamers and Horrors and stuff in it. And some more Flamers and stuff, but that's all sat unopened. Had no real energy to do anything. But I did make a purchase today, which hopefully will excite me and kick me into hobby gear.
What did you do?
Obviously, following Bojo's announcements sometime in the past. I can't even remember when they were now. Obviously, we're going to have tournaments this year unless everybody else fucks it up.
That's where my money's going.
I'm not penciling any in June in my mind, but July sounds like it could be doable. So I'm starting to think about 40k events, whether or not, like, obviously most of them will be like little round RTTs or local things. Yeah, I'm not expecting any big events to sort of jump up. I know that the London GT is going full gear in September.
That's brave.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, part of me thinks, oh, it's a lot of people there, but also on the flip side, everyone should be vaccinated by then. But anyway, so sort of just thinking, okay, well, what can I do to sort of that's almost game ready now, and so I dug my notes back out,
yeah, boy,
gave them a dust, and I was like, oh, I'd like to pick up some more bits and pieces for them. I've got like a half-built Gallant, which isn't great in the game at the moment in a not very great faction. So so I ordered myself a Knight Atropos earlier today.
Oh, baby.
That's the big Mechanicus Forge World thing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, with his weird las cutter thing.
Yeah, it's got a weird las cutter that's a gun and a combat weapon, and then it's got like a big cannony thing. Not sure how good it is in the game, but
I remember them being good previously. I don't know about now because I just haven't looked at them. But...
I haven't seen one played in years, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, it's 520 points, so it's 100 and odd points less cheaper than a Castellan. Obviously, it doesn't have that much firepower, but it's better in combat, and it's only got one fewer wound.
Yeah, I remember it being very good at killing other things of its size in combat.
Yeah, it gets like, I think it gets +1. I can't remember if it's +1 to hit vehicles or things with the Titanic keyword, and then it gets like rerolls to wound on all of its weapons and stuff for against vehicles and monsters. So it's just a really cool model. So I'm gonna smash that up, make that fit in with the rest of my knights. Just sort of broaden that list a little bit.
Oh, looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, fairly apprehensive, but it's not arrived yet. Obviously, I only ordered it 2-3 hours ago. So,
well, they're slacking.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to spend some money. I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick up some more Warglaives and stuff, so I can run some slightly different lists. But I'm hoping like a model that I've wanted for a long time will spur me into being a bit more hobby focused, which would be cool. So news from the Games Workshop front. The most exciting thing is that we have a date for the Drakari Codex.
I thought I heard a squee over the South Sea winds.
Yeah, it's not as soon as I was hoping it would be. I was kind of hoping it would be at the start of the month, but it's pre-order up on the 20th. So week of the 15th. Like, we should start to see the rumours and stuff and the rules leak out for it.
Nice.
And then release on the 27th. So I'm sure by that point I'll shove my knights into a pile and dig all my Drakari stuff out.
Away with you, freshly bought Atropos.
Yeah. As if he's even here by then. Who knows? I've not ordered from Forge World in so long. Obviously, the amount that I ordered from there, I got the free tracked shipping, so hopefully it won't get lost in the post. But most of the Forge World purchases are just spare at the moment out of Warhammer World now.
Yep,
and been there for a while. So so that's quite cool. So I'm very excited about that. I'm hoping that they're on the lines of the new Marine supplements and the Death Guard book and the Necron book. I feel like they're a faction that's going to be quite difficult to get right, so people can play like a mix of all the different types of Drakari or play them singularly and not be naff in one or both of those ways. So fingers crossed. Dark Lancers look good. We've seen some bits and pieces from the new reboxed Warriors.
Mm.
They've got their on the back. So now Dark Lances are still strength 8, still AP4, but they're 3 plus D3 damage. So you're always getting a consistent 4 damage out of them, at least.
Very respectable.
Much better. So for someone like me who usually runs like Lances on his planes and Lances on his Ravagers, like that's obviously we haven't seen what they're going to do with disintegrator cannons yet, but that's a nice, like, there's nothing worse than getting through like a vehicle or a Knight's Invulnerable save and then rolling like 1 or 2 for the damage.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fairly exciting. So I'm sure there'll be plenty more Gold Space Pirates and stuff coming up in the next month or so. Yeah, very excited. Other than that, it's been quite slow from Games Workshop. We've had the release of the Kill Team box, or is that pre-order? I think it's on pre-order.
I think it's up for pre-order, and the internet is already wailing about scalpers. They're not wrong. They're literally the day it was up for pre-order. You know, you could buy the individual units at the same price as the bloody box on eBay.
Yeah, of course. So it's up for pre-order. The thing that like people seem to be complaining about is that it doesn't actually come with the Kill Team rulebook. Which, like, I don't play Kill Team, so I'm not sure if that's something that you would actually be upset about.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. I'd seen upset of a slightly different one where the Kill Team players are essentially saying that this box set will break Kill Team. But I mean, I wouldn't know about it because I've never played it. But
yeah, there's a bunch of guys at our local club in Haven that play it quite well. Not. It's the main game that they play, so hopefully we'll. But yeah, it's. I mean, I was looking at it. It's like it's £95 for a box of Space Marines, which are going to be about £35. A Space Marine character who's going to be 25 quid. A Necron character who's going to be 25 quid. And then a box of Necrons who are going to be 25 quid. So it's worth it, but it's obviously not necessarily like no one's going to use flayed ones. But no one's going to use flayed ones, but you want to use the Chronomancer because he's the best Cryptek. So I'm sure it will get bought until then.
And everyone wants heavy intercessors with a Marine army.
Yeah, especially Deathwatch players. They are they're very excited for them. The other massive moan is the have you seen the Space Marines Honoured of the Chapter box?
I don't think I have.
Oh, okay. So these are the characters and Blade Guard and Eradicators from Indomitus that have all been bundled into a mail order set.
Okay.
So it's the really nice chaplain, the Judicia, and the Blade Guard ancient.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 Blade Guard and the 3 Eradicators, and it's £89. Which is quite a lot. It's quite a lot of money, but then again, like, okay, I get that the Blade Guard and Eradicators aren't like the.
That's not much cheaper than what the Indomitus box was in itself, though, is it?
No, but that's not available anymore.
That's true.
So, if you think that like most people are buying those boxes of Blade or the Blade Guard and Eradicators from it for like 20 quid a pop, say, and those characters are going to be 20 quid each, like it makes sense, but it looks like a lot of money for what it is.
Yeah.
And then there's a similar Necron one, which I would be more pissed off about.
Yeah, I can see the Necron one. Is that the return of the Necron royalty? The one.
The Necron's Royal Court, yeah. So it's the Plasmancer, the Scorpec Lord,
a couple of Dustin guys,
and then the thing that you're never going to use. So that one sticks in my craw a bit more. But it's I don't play either of those armies, so I don't really care. Like, don't have to buy it.
No, exactly.
If you wanted those models, then you should have bought Indomitus. In the two different instances where you could have bought it, because there was a made to order as well. So, but yeah, not too bad. The only other thing GW have sort of done is that they've reshifted their Warhammer community articles on the website. A little bit odd. So every Sunday, it looks like we're still going to get the what's coming up in the next week for pre-order.
Yeah.
And then, but there's a new article called New Miniature Monday, which apparently for every week now until the end of time, on a Monday we're getting a new model. And this week was the Vampire Soulblight Gravelord, the Rat Prince.
Oh yeah, that guy.
He is absolutely fabulous.
He is a little. I mean, I don't want to say he's a pimp, but he literally has a cane and a cape.
And a big, yeah, he's got and
he's wearing furs.
He's got furs. Like it looks a bit odd that he's on like an oval base, but it's because he's got all the rat tails and stuff pouring out the back of his coat.
Yeah, he's very fancy. I love him.
Yeah, which is really interesting. I mean, they mentioned in the article that he's like he's from the Dread City. So it'd be interesting to see if he's upcoming to be an expansion to Warhammer Quest, or if he's going to be one of the special characters in the Soulblight book. That's not really defined. It's just here's a cool model and here's its background. Yeah. So yeah, sort of interesting to see how that goes. But if they're all going to look like along that science type of look, then it's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, I'm excited for new model porn on a weekly basis. If they're all going to look this good.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that. What else? There's I think the announcement for the new fortnightly 40k magazine. What used to be Warhammer Conquest has got new iteration, which appears to be sort of like mixed Imperial stuff versus Necrons. So it's very similar to Conquest was before. I think it's every other week. You know, the issues vary in cost, but about £8, I think, for essentially much less than RRP.
Yeah. So some of those on the previous iteration were just such great value for money. Like I picked up a few issues for like Celestar Ballisters to ally into my Fire Slayers, and it was essentially 50% off the kit. It's really great. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that for particular kits that I want.
Yeah, I've got a stack of 5 unopened in the corner of my room for when they had the Chaos Spawn. Because that's a £25 box and they were selling for £8, so I bought 5.
Yeah, wish I had noticed that one. I noticed that. I remembered that magazine existed way too late.
No, I sort of caught it and I was like, oh well, Spawn may be good at some point in the future in Thousand Suns. That was my logic. I bought it. So that's pretty cool. It's interesting that it seems to be a lot more of the so there's a lot more of the Primaris stuff that wasn't. So it seems to be the sort of newer generation Primaris stuff. So nothing was really included in the magazine or Indomitus.
I think I'll definitely be picking up a couple of copies of the one that's got the turret emplacement on it.
Yes, yeah.
I like that. So I'm going to have to pick up a few of those, I think.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then it looks like that they're rolling in some Mechanicus and some Sisters of Battle.
Yeah, I could make out some of the big tracked servitors. I couldn't quite see which one from the stock photo because it was quite zoomed out.
Oh well, it'll just be the kit. So that's quite cool. I mean, like they're a £35 box. You know, if you can get I don't know if they'll be slightly more expensive, but even if they're, even if that was £20 and you wanted some breaches.
Oh yeah, money's off, isn't it?
So so that's quite cool. It's interesting to see how that goes. And then it looks like the majority of the Necron range is in there as well. So I'm sure all of the budding Necron players who sort of come out of the woodwork since Indomitus can now sort of feed that cheap Necron crack addiction, and they're having to pay full RRP for stuff.
Full RRP is for chumps.
Oh, well, some people are going to pay it, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I pay it for some things, but if I don't have to, I'm not going to.
Exactly.
Saying that, you just spent 194 quid on one night. I'm the chump. Yes, so this week, obviously, we've got. We're sort of in between bits and pieces. There's not a lot of GW news, and then there's not a lot of interperson hobby going on, obviously, because we're still in lockdown
3.
But lockdown 3. But we're on our way. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully, like I said, so we've got some events creeping up in the second half of the year, and we're not too far away from Garden Hammer with your friends.
Yeah, I'd settle for that.
That's a good way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm very excited about that. So this week we're going to be talking. Sam and I are essentially just going to have an old man chat session. We've got quite a few questions from the audience and our listeners, and then we're just going to ramble on about toys we like. So we're going to take a quick break and then join us in a moment, and we're just going to shoot the breeze. Thanks very much. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Still Sam and Callum here. So we're just going to kick it off with some questions from you, the wonderful listeners. So we put up, I think, a couple of posts on like Instagram and Facebook and such. So have you got some questions available for us, Sam?
Yep, I've got the ones from Facebook. I've not looked at the other platforms yet, to be honest. So I'll kick things off with our favourite pet, Mr. James McLennan. He's given us a two-parter and a random statement. So I will lead into the first part of the question, which was, what's the most funniest thing that happened in the game you had?
Okay.
Go.
Funniest thing. That's really difficult because I don't really. Not sure. Do you have one? Give me a time to think.
It's one that I find amusing now, but at the time found it very hard to deal with, and I'm sure I've mentioned it before. It was playing. It was probably 5th or 6th edition fantasy with crazy old guy actually in the Games Workshop on Vets Night. I think his name was Henry, but I also used to call him Raoul because I could never remember his name. Somehow Raoul stuck. And he was using his Bretonian army with his set of rules that were possibly 2 editions out of date. But no matter how often we explained that, it never seemed to go anywhere. So we just rolled some dice anyway. And I was casting a spell from the Law of Beasts, which was the Beast Cowers, to basically stop his guys from battering my Marauder Horsemen. I can't remember exactly what it did. Something to do with stopping the mounts of his Bretonian knights attacking or something like that. And no matter how I explained it, it just wasn't sinking it. Like it was, when something's so simple, you can't elaborate on it more than exactly what is written on the page in front of you to help someone understand it. It just wasn't going anywhere, and we had a back and forth for about 45 minutes. You don't want to be that guy that screams at an old man and then shoves a fistful of Grail Knights up his arse, but came close. He was a lovely old man. I just ran out of basic English to try and explain something very, very simple.
No, that's understandable.
That and explaining how to roll sevens on D6 to the crazy postman. Those are probably some of my funniest memories. Now,
I can imagine that.
So second half of Jim's post. What was your most WFT? I assume he means what the fuck moment that has happened in a game, i.e., an impossible roll, charge, or something that should not have killed something but did.
Oh, okay. So, so just in response to the first part of the question, I once had a game. I can't remember where it was. I think it was at GW Portsmouth, and it was under the 7th edition Warhammer Fantasy Chaos Demon book. That really good one.
Yep.
And it was my Slanesh Demon army, and I can't remember who I was playing or what I was playing against, but essentially what that army did is essentially create an area of debuff on the table that just reduced your opponent's leadership to 0. And then you would make them take panic tests and stuff like that and just make their units run off the board. And there was a spell where you would just take like D6 strength 4 hits every time you rolled over your leadership value, but it wasn't a leadership test, so you couldn't automatically pass it on like a double one or being stubborn. And the face on my opponent when I explained, oh no, your leadership 0. Here, let me roll against your leadership. 6 strength 4 hits. Let's do it again. Oh, I'm over your leadership again. And I was just like, I just get to do this until your unit's actually dead. So should we just take that unit off? And yeah, they didn't look too impressed. And then obviously I did exactly the same thing the next turn on something else. I didn't play with that army a lot because it was ridiculous.
I think I remember that iteration of the Demon Codex. Beautiful book.
Yeah. That was the height of the Warhammer Fantasy 7th edition, like proper book escalation wars, where like high elves got always strike first and reroll misses, and dark elves got that really good book, and then vampires got their book, and it was great. It was just off the wall, and then got stupid.
Yeah, we can revisit that later when we talk about our favourite armies we've ever built, because we will literally be going back to that codex.
I think I know the one you're going to. Sort of like weird, impossible things that have happened. Like it's really weird because like long charges and stuff like that. Like, I needed a 6/6. Like I don't really sort of like recall that stuff, but when I think it was the last GT we went out to Warhammer World for. I was playing against an Imperial Soup list with like 3 Crusaders, and he seized the initiative on my Tau army, which wasn't a lot of fun. But there was a point where he had like a really heavily damaged knight like in my deployment zone, and then I shot it with my Cadra Fireblade, who's the little like fat Tau commander guy.
Yeah.
Who gives everyone an extra shot when they're in rapid fire range, and all of his shots hit and all of his shots wounded, and then the guy failed his 3 2-up saves, and then that knight died. It exploded and then killed like 2 or 3 of his guard company commanders. That was pretty funny.
Nice.
Yeah, that was sort of good job, little 35-point Tau guy died in the explosion, obviously. But yeah, it was quite funny. He just sort of stepped out of this building, blasted it, and the night went thermonuclear and disappeared.
Brilliant.
That was pretty good. What about you? What about yourself?
I've got three tied for two tied for just sheer dumb luck. And the first of those was against our buddy Mr. Darren Watson. We're having a knockabout in fantasy again. And I desperately needed to stave off a charge from a huge unit of dragon princes that he had, and all I had to throw in the way left was 5 demonettes of Slanesh, and that was barely going to slow them down. But instead, Darren's dice betrayed him so badly that not only did he not kill those 5 demonettes, they managed to do enough damage back to make them run away, the Dragon Knights, and then they ran them down, which was utter fucking bullshit. But you got to take the dice as they go. And had a very similar incident with my Skaven army where I needed to stave off some a large block of Chaos Knights. So I threw 20 Skaven slaves in the way, who then lost no one, and pulled down a few knights, won the combat, and then ran them down. Best 50 points you could spend. It was ridiculous. But I think the stupidest one was tying up Malekith with a unit of 5 Furies, which had no business, living.
Malekith on his dragon.
On his dragon, he managed to do 17 wounding hits on these 5 Furies in combat, and I saved every single one of them on a single dice roll with no rerolls. It's the single best dice roll I've ever made. It's like complete bullshit. Thankfully, there was a store full of people to witness it. Otherwise, they'd be like, "No, you're making that up." But 17 5-ups in one roll. It was beautiful. I think that used up all my wargaming luck ever, which is why I now suck.
Yeah, massively.
But to round off Jim's post, he said also 25% off weekend stays at Grimgore's Nan's house. Book now. It's sinister. So that's a reference to a standing old school GW Portsmouth terrain feature on every fantasy board, which was Grimgore's Nan's house. Now terrain has you roll for terrain now, so it can be groovy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, really welcoming or sinister, for sure. I do miss Warhammer Fantasy, but I'm never going to go back to it because it's not a real game anymore.
Yeah. I like to look through the old Fantasy Army books now and then and think, oh, I miss you so much, and then maybe I'll I'll just never use it. That's the thing,
You'll never use it, and I will never let you get over the fact that you've done it.
One day I might allow myself an exception, just as a little, project. I might finally make that Snotling army from the 6th edition Orc and Goblin book.
Oh, they were so good, those little appendice army lists at the back of the army book. Yeah, they were great.
I like that it had a designer's note just as they entered the list. And there were a few serious ones like the Troll Country and the Black Orc War. And then the designer's note of, because we could, the Snotling War. It was
because the Snotling hero essentially was just a common goblin, wasn't it? Who could have one magic item at 15 points.
Yeah, the Snotling war boss. Yeah, Wallopers One It Wonder, maybe a Dispel Scroll. But not that you needed to worry about it, because almost the entire army was bases of Snotlings, which in that book were unbreakables.
Yeah. Times ridiculous. What a ridiculous time to be alive.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I miss it. So next question, Mr. Robert Rodwell, friend of the show. He says, if you had to enter a 2-man tournament, what armies would you run? Brackets, non-Space Marine.
Oh, okay. So I assume he means doubles.
I'm assuming doubles.
Okay, so have you had a little think about this one, Sam?
I've not, to be honest. I've been racking my brain, but then it's hard to tell off the cuff because sometimes you'd want to liaise with the person you're playing with.
Yeah, there's like one that I would think, oh, if me and a partner wanted to go to a tournament, like this is a good shout. But come to that in a moment. Like, what army would we take if we were buddied up?
Well, I think
so. Say 1,000 points each.
Well, I immediately returned to that doubles day you and I played in that ruined everyone's time. I don't want to rebuild the closest we could get to our old Dark Elder Harlequins tag team.
Oh God, that was so good!
It was
yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That was in like what, 4th edition?
I think so. It was literally the most mental fucking list.
You had that weird old like semi kind of official roll over from 3rd ed.
Yeah, it was the Harlequin army list from the old annual, so it was still legal for play, but clearly no one had ever tested it because it could do some absolutely mental things.
You made that kid cry because you killed his hive tyrant in one hit.
Yeah, with a shadow seer, because why not? Yeah. Oh, what?
Yeah.
What time to be alive?
Because you had what, like literally like 3 of the old like Harlequin characters.
I think I had like 6 guys tops, and that was including what was at the time referred to as a Venom, which is now it's basically what a Dark Elder Venom was. It was the old Harlequin transport, and it was, you converted it from like the Viper kit and what have you. Like there was a conversion guide for it. But I think it had like the Shadow Seer in it that had a weird piece of equipment which was called Rive Blades, which if you rolled a 6 to wound, it was a power weapon. So you weren't really getting. Did you just not get saves from power weapons in that edition? Possibly. Yeah, I think that's what made it stupid.
Yeah, it was no save and instant death, wasn't it?
Yeah, any 6s to wound instantly killed anything, and my Shadow Seer wiped out an entire unit of Hive Guard by rolling like 4 or 5 6s at once on a charge to wound, which was mental. And then there was like the 15 attack solitaire and God knows what else in there. I had like a handful of models, and then I remember you had a Blender Archon or 2 and lots of Dark Lances.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had the old like Super Archon because you could only build 1 out of that book at the time, and then I think I had like just 6 squads of 10 guys with 2 Dark Lances each. Because 40k was fun back then.
That was the old domino fields and all the old Harlequins, so I could only be hit back on 6s no matter what. Yeah, we ruined everyone's day and won, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, that was okay. Yeah, so yeah, you could kind of do that now. You could do a really cool like fun themed Harlequin characters and some Drakari going on for sure. For ideas for a doubles list, if you're looking to actually compete at some point, I would say something similar to the Sisters of Battle and Custodes army that the Las Vegas Nopen a few weekends ago. So what that essentially was about 1,000 points of Custodes and about 1,000 points of Sisters. So fit in really well with the idea of doubles. So you take like Trajan Valorous, the Super Killy captain on jet bike, and like 5 Custode Guard just with swords and shields, and they are literally there to like just hold the middle of the board, batter people and not die. And then I think I looked at it. It was like a Bloody Rose Sisters detachment with a couple of Canonesses, a Preacher, 3 units of Repentia, 3 units of Sisters for your troops, and then 2 units of Retributors armed with multi-melters, and just ruin everyone's day.
Yeah, that's pretty tidy.
Yeah, because the Sister stuff is all like super aggressive. The multi-melters just delete anything that's on the table, and then the Custodes don't die. They're your targets for while we stand, we fight as a secondary. Like, you're never shifting multiple of those custodian units. And then Trajan, I think, is the other one. And he's obviously super hard to kill, especially when he's hiding behind those custodes units. And then you just use the sisters to sort of fill in the gaps between all the custody stuff. Oh, I had a Vexler as well with the +1 attack banner because it couldn't fit in 1,000 points with the -1.
Lovely.
So I think that could be quite cool. And then you just play really aggressively with all the Repentia because
that's pretty neat.
Because they're real good.
I know. Yeah.
So I think,
although it's cancelled now, the rescheduled confrontation alliances. I think I was looking at. I think we were both going to run Death Guard with the new book was the plan. And one of us to just bring hordes and hordes and hordes of shite to clog the table, and then the other bring as many of the hard-hitting Terminator units as we could. So I think my plan of the half of the 1,000 points was basically Typhus, some bodyguards, and then as many Poxwalkers as I can fill in the points.
Yeah,
I think we were planning on literally just flooding the board with shite and trying to score as many points as we could.
Yeah, it's like a bit harder to do now because of the restriction on Poxwalkers, but yeah.
Of course, that was the plan pre-book, but I don't think you can still do it easily enough with making some really cheap alternate core units, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So that's quite cool. And obviously, Rob, if you want to chat about doubles or on the army list, just feel free to shout. I'm always happy to talk about toys.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Cool. Have we got any others?
We got our old buddy Mark Pearson. He's back in the hood. So he's got a 3-parter for us. So part 1 of Mark's question is, what are the gaming or hobby moments you are most proud of?
Oh, proud of. I don't think I can top the feeling of the first and only event where I won all 5 games. That was at Norwich in 2015, I think. This was sort of on the cusp of like trying to win those sort of or at least place at those sort of 30-40 person events without going too deep into meta chasing and stuff. So it was a really nice competitive tower army that I had at the time. And this was the first sort of tournament where I was like, okay, I really want to test these guys out. After I can't remember if that was the same year that I came third at Pillage with the same army. I think one happened before the other, but I was sort of I really thought about this army list, and then I won all 5 games, and then I ended up in third somehow, which I was kind of annoyed about, but sort of playing on the sort of top table. On round 5 is a really pressure experience, even if it's at a small event. So winning that last game, and being like, oh, I've won all 5 games. I'm actually undefeated this weekend. That's really cool. Something that I've won 3 games on single one days and stuff like that, but not to that extent before.
Nice.
That was good. Yeah. No hobby moments. I'm shy to it. So, gaming. What about you, Sam?
Gaming or hobby moments that I'm most proud of? I really don't know, to be honest. It's a very tough question. I think one that I was most pleased with, and it was nothing to do with performance, was when Jim and I won, it was my very first foray into doubles. We won best army at Champion of Champions. And it was certainly nothing to do with our performance because we we didn't come last, but it was the birth of Team Wasabi Enema, and just if we could cock something up, we'd cock it up during the game. It was brilliant. We hadn't.
That was the old Spiky Club double thing, wasn't it? Yeah.
And there were some just stunning armies there, and I'm not sure how Jim and I got away with it. I think it's because the majority of the people there thought we had like coordinated our armies, whereas in actual fact we'd only decided on it like the week before, and then we turned up and all like our basing matched and what have you. So it looked like we'd gone to a lot of effort to like build an army for the event, and it was Jim's beautiful old Vostroyan army and my Slaanesh demons. And somehow we walked away with best army, and I think it was purely that people thought we'd put in way more effort than we had, and it was just a happy accident.
That's one of the things that I really like about doubles, is that it gives you that opportunity to do a small project, and if you work with the person and be like, at least you want if you at least get your bases to match, that immediately looks cool. And then, but if you can you decide on a theme or a tie-in color or something across the two armies like that, you can really go to town and it looks great. So yeah, it was probably that.
Yeah, it was definitely that. It certainly wasn't anything on performance, and I don't think we ingratiated ourselves with the judges by insisting that they read out our full team name, because they tried to avoid it at every opportunity. So okay, and Team Wasabi, you're playing, and then from the back of the hall you'd hear read the full name. I'm just gonna sigh. Wasabi Enema. Somehow we still came away with it was a really cool little trophy as well. I think it was like some like wooden carved dice that were rolling into a plinth. I think it's at Jim's house. I don't think I kept that one. We were sharing custody, but I've abandoned my child.
Yeah, to shake him down for it.
So second part of Mark's question was, what games have you won that made you feel bad for winning? I can immediately think of two.
Okay, yeah, you, because I don't think I've ever felt bad about winning any game.
The first one was playing with Jim again. We were playing a huge game of fantasy with Jim's orcs, and when it went bad for Jim with his orcs, it went really bad. And turn one, I flew an exalted demon into the middle of his army, made him take a terror test, and then everything ran away, like straight off the board. Nothing had fought. Almost his entire army ran off the board. So I felt bad for that, so we re-ranked and went again. That was a stupid one. The other would have been one of the times we went down to Brighton for one of the GT heats. So it would have been at the old King and Queen.
Yeah.
And I think it was the last game of the weekend, and a mutual friend of ours had not had much luck. And he had even less luck in the final game against me, where he failed every dice roll he could make. And I passed every dice roll I wanted to make as well as I possibly could. And he just left. And he went outside and had a weep. I just didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, made a grown man cry. I feel kind of bad.
That's pretty good. I think it was the only one-day confrontation event, the Summer Showdown, a few years ago, which I happened to win. I think it was the second game. I played against a Harlequin Yunari army, and I didn't feel bad for winning the game. because the guy's list was like super competitive. It was full of that horrific Yunari janky stuff that like the rules
was this with all
awful.
like the weird soul burst mechanics and everything?
Yeah, back when soul burst was in, which never made any sense why that was in the game. But so I was using my sort of Magnus mixed Zinch list. Obviously, when you could still super detachments and stuff in early 8th edition, and it was sort of like going okay. And then Ricky came round to judge painting and stuff, and Ricky just sort of went up to this guy and was like, "By the way, you've not based any of your models." And it's a requirement in the rules pack because at all of the confrontations, like the army standard has to hit a certain point. Like Ricky wants all of the armies to look not that they have to be well painted, but they have to look finished, and it's good. Like when I go to a tournament, I want to play against a nice. I want to play against a finished army, not. And this guy's models were like sprayed black with a couple of different colours dashed on them, and then nothing on their bases. And the guy sort of just went like kind of shy with Ricky, and sort of mumbled, "Oh, okay." And Ricky was like, "So you're going to score 0 points in every game?" So we'll play as we'll play the pairings as if you win a game, etc., etc. But your total score is 0 because you haven't met the conditions that are
in the rules pack.
In the rules pack, and then he went, "I've just not had time." God. And then Ricky just went, You played at Pompey Pillage last week with this exactly the same army. Don't tell me you've not had time." And then walked away. And then he sort of like looked at me, kind of upset. And then Magnus got a 2d6 smite off against the Avatar of Unity and killed it in one go. I was like, back to the game, shall we? And then Magnus just rolled over his whole army. So I didn't feel bad about winning that, but it was sort of it was sort of like this guy was clearly in like a bit of not emotional distress because it was his own fault. He was in that situation.
Those rules out for a long time before the event.
Yeah. And the only other one was at I think it was the last Caledonian Uprising we went to, and I took one of my Tau armies, and in the first game, I thought we were playing with a rule set where you could if you could re-roll a save, it could never be better than a 4+. And I played this Space Wolf army, and it turned out that no, you could re-roll 2 up invulnerable saves to 2 up invulnerable saves, which is the first time that event had ever let you do that. So I forfeited that game, but I was annoyed at myself because I didn't read the rules pack. So on like one of the bottom tables, because I got like a maximum loss because I forfeited the game, I was drawn against one of our good friends and club members, Ash Fulcher.
Oh,
and his like corn army for 40k. So he had like demons.
Is this his Dreadclaw filled with Berserkers list?
No, it wasn't that one. But it was like loads. It was the old. I think it still might have been the Demonkin book at that point, but it was that style of army. So it was loads of Fleshhounds and Bloodletters and Corn Bike. And I sort of come up to the table, and he sort of looked at me and went, "I don't think we've ever played before." I put my army down, and I was like, "I'm sorry for what I'm about to do to you." I'm so angry. And proceeded to ream him through.
Well, it's Ash. He likes a good reaming.
So I was like, "I'm really sorry that you were the person that I played at this point," because I was like, I went full like tournament arsehole mode.
It must have been really distracting for other players to hear your balls slapping off of him for the entirety of that game.
It was just it was just really funny. I was just like, and at the end of it, I was like, "Oh, should we get a drink?" And he was like, "Yeah, we should." And it was like, clean yourself up. Yeah, that made me feel better about that weekend.
Oh, brilliant. Third part of Mark's question was hand brush or airbrush?
So I don't mind airbrushing to get base coats on things, but I can't paint with an airbrush to save my life. And not to like stuff that is airbrushed looks great, but I feel personally that it's got like a lack of style to it.
I think you and I might have a similar feeling on this, because while I love like the technical aspect of being able to paint with an airbrush, and I can't, I've never like learned. There is a tendency for armies that are painted with an airbrush to look a particular way, if you know what I mean. And
yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I mean.
Doesn't
look like
quite right.
It's that over. Yeah, I feel it's that over stylized like shading up and up to colours, and then also it's all really smooth transitions. And I know that's the sort of effect people are going for. And it's not this isn't a knock on people who airbrush or paint with an airbrush, because their armies do look fantastic. I like that sort of, if you're playing within your gaming group, and if your gaming group paints, you can sort of be like, you could get a load of models out that you've never seen and be like, oh, Sam paint. You can tell Sam painted that. It paint's really sick. Or or like so I feel like there's a lack of like a personality to the models, but they do look outstanding when you do. I mean, like elder armies and stuff like that are all airbrush. And also when that's used then in conjunction with like detail painting and stuff, that can look great. I don't like it when you see like stuff that's airbrushed and then it's the person hasn't gone to all the effort of actually painting the rest of the model. That sort of annoys me, but that's more of a tournament thing than a actual hobby painting thing. But I've got one. I've got a couple actually of airbrushes, but using it for colours that you can't easily get down through hand painting for sure. But I wouldn't use one all the time personally.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm a brush jockey all the way.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's all the questions from that post, or at least all that I can see.
Fantastic. So I've got a couple of people have asked, but we'll take a quick break and we'll come back just on the other side of this. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for sticking around. So just Sam and Callum just answering a few more questions people have asked us through our different social media channels over the last couple of weeks. So like one that we've never really sort of discussed before, and it's kind of difficult the way that they posted it, which was sort of like, what is your favourite army? So I guess you can sort of go, like, if you break it down to sort of, maybe fantasy / AOS and 40k, and then maybe like Middle Earth or whatever, because one across different game systems is a bit difficult, I think.
Well, I've definitely got one I can lean on in the fantasy AOS camp and the 40k camp.
Yeah, for sure. So not necessarily one that you like not your favorite army that you've got, like just in general. Like, what's the thing that you really like?
I don't know. In that case, there's too many. That's the problem. I've probably done every army bar, I think, Tau at one point or another over the years. But I don't know. in that case, I yeah, my brain immediately leapt to my favourite stupid lists that I've ever made.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So my favorite like army for 40k, like this, the way it's stylized, how it plays, and the models, it's definitely Gene Stealer Cult.
Mm.
Now they're down in the dumpster fire at the moment because they can't play in 9th edition, but they were a really, really rewarding army last edition if you were like playing well with them. It's one of those armies that sort of really rewards you if you like to fuck around with your opponent. Uh, and I really liked that. It had a load of models. Like Gene Stealer Colts are a cool, weird thing that I'm glad GW brought back in the background. And it's just sort of like just one of those really, and I'm hoping that when they get the book, they get a load of like almost non-linear ways to play because like unless they're in full uprising mode, like any clash with a Gene Stealer Colt has like a different purpose, like they're stealing munitions or like they're trying to, pikey a bunch of tanks and stuff.
Yeah.
And then cause like a load of havoc. So I'm really hoping that their secondaries and they can. I'm really hoping that they've got some cool secondaries to do when they get redone. But also, hopefully they can do some like actions in game that sort of don't necessarily grant you victory points, but sort of have an impact on the game somehow. That would be really cool. So yeah, I really like Gene Stealer Cult because the new generation of models are outstanding. Like, there's not one of them that I don't like. They were a fun army to play with, and yeah, I can't wait to get them back out again.
Yeah, I suppose in that vein, one of my favourites might be Grey Knights.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's been a long time since they've been top of the heap, and they, but there's just something about them. I always have to go back to them, and I love their ties to the Inquisition, and just that they're a pack of assholes. Like that whole post Siege of Rax story arc where they're just executing loyalist armies. I was like, well done, thank you for your service. Bam, shoot in the face. I just love them. They're dickheads, and I love everything about it. I love the whole like psychic brotherhood thing. Yeah. Hopefully they'll get a really cool update, and they'll get some of the nice buffs that other Imperial chapters have had.
Yeah, second win would be nice.
Mm.
and them being actually like double hard in combat would be great.
Yeah.
At the moment, they're just a like one attack Space Marine with a power sword, and it's like.
Yeah, it would be nice to see some of their power armored units become more viable because it's essentially it's always Terminators and Paladins and Dreadknights, which is my preferred build for them because I love Grey Knight Terminators. But it would be nice for like the what are they called, strike squads to see some action, or even some of the other ones like the Purifiers. I remember there was a time they had a heyday. Yeah. I just want an update for my boys, and then I can take them out of the bottom of the pile of cases and give them some love.
Yeah, that's cool. So army that you have or that you've done. So what's the one that you sort of think so fondly of it melts your heart?
I've got two. The one for 40k was my last hurrah in 7th edition with the Librarius Conclave that also included Inquisitors and Cypher. It was the last hurrah of the Death Stars, constantly, invisible, or it had all the buffs: invisible, stealth, hit like a truck.
Hit and run had an Iron Hands chapter master in it.
Yeah, bajillion smites. And the it would have Kotiaz in it for his buffs, and then a random Ordo Xenos Inquisitor that was juggling 1 trillion grenades at once. So if you actually went near it, you were striking last. You had lower toughness than you would normally have. If it was a Tuesday and there was a cat outside, there was another debuff that it gave you. It was ridiculous. And I'm sort of glad that edition has gone, because it was like the game was beginning to be unplayable due to all the stupid rules you could stack.
I mean that edition was unplayable when people realised what you could do with the ally matrix.
Yeah,
like I remember playing a game at Blood and Glory. No, not Blood and Glory. War of the Roses against a Marine army that had an allied the Tau buff commander. So as long as he didn't shoot, he gave you like rerolls to hit, ignore cover, like tank hunter, hit and run, like all of the cool rules in the world. And him sat in a bastion with a unit of Centurion Devastators. Oh, okay. Cool. But the worst thing about that is that it wasn't even on the board because they were inside the bastion. I remember because I killed the bastion, and then like 5 Centurions got out, and I was like, "Oh my god, it was 5!" Like,
I can imagine that. That reminds me of that. Where was it? It was from a big event in the States. I think some guy got fed up with being battered by knights all the time, so he bolted on an Aquila Strongpoint to his Craftworld army and had Morgan Ra firing a macro cannon constantly.
Yeah, very, very silly. I mean, like there were some parts of it that you were like. So I can remember the Screamer Star being a big thing. That was okay, and that was like there's a bunch of Heralds of Tzeentch. A bunch of Heralds of Tzeentch and a big unit of Screamers, and you could get a 2-up rerollable invulnerable save. But that was contingent on, rolling a 3+ on a relic and to give you +2 to your invulnerable save, which was a 1 in 3 chance. Okay, you had Fate Weaver, so you got a free reroll every turn. But sort of 1 in 9 chance of that failing, and then your unit was like -1 invulnerable save, and then would die to a Wetfire. And they had like no ways of getting out of combat, but it was like a really interesting concept, and like that unit in itself was difficult to shift.
Yeah, it wasn't impossible to shift though. That's the thing. No, like you could still play a game against that army. I felt.
Yeah, like it couldn't do everything. Like it put out a load of like basic level magic shooting. And then it would like charge a unit and mop it up. And if you got lucky and you had one of those 1 in 9 failing a 3-up reroll to get that power, to get that buff off, like it's very easy to kill. But then when things got escalated with like that, I can't remember what that Marine formation was called.
The Librarius Conclave. That was that had a lot to answer for.
Just generating your dice on 2s. You had Tigerius in it, and then he could give everyone psychic powers. And then because they were all characters, they could all join each other and or the same unit. And so you instantly went from, oh my god, that unit's got a 2-up rerollable vulnerable save. That might be bad for the game. To this collection of Space Marine characters is now invisible, so you hit it on 6s. Has Eternal Warrior, a 4-up Feel No Pain, 2-up rerollable invulnerable save, and also there's like 5 Wolf Lords in here with Thunderhammers and Storm Shields on Thunderwolves, just in case you do get close to it. It was this isn't fun. That will never be fun.
I love whoever thought that up was just so innocent. They're like, this is really cool. Look at what I've made to go into the edition, and everyone else at Design HQ is just like, wow, that's really cool. What a great idea. And then the players got it.
That was the thing. Like, I quite liked the idea of like the generic psychic power trees because it meant you could do like really cool things with different units. But like the thought of what happens if we write the rules for something where they can cast it all?
Yeah. Almost,
no, don't worry.
Almost guaranteed. Like,
yeah. It was just ridiculous, and that's why anytime anybody complains, or when they were complaining about 8th edition and now 9th edition, I'm just like, this. I've got a guy's army list from a game at a tournament where I've played against it. Obviously, used to swap army lists and stuff, and and I was just like, I remember keeping it because it was the first time that I played it with my Tau, and I was just like, I cannot win this game. Like, I can only shoot things, and then I hit it on 6s, and then he's got a rollable and vulnerable save, and then a 4+ feel no pain.
Yeah.
And then every single one of those is a character.
I think I've got a picture of that stupid list somewhere that I had, which was the Conclave that obviously had Tigurius in it. A bunch of Grab Centurions, Drago to give it Gate of Infinity, or at least no. I think they were the distraction. I think the Death Star was just all characters in the end when I fielded it. It was just mental. What a silly time.
Yeah. It's just one of those sorts of maybe actually having some playtesters would have been a good idea.
Yeah,
and that was also the addition with the generic demonic psychic power trees. So there was the sort of like, there was the good guy ones that the Grey Knights could cast without perilsing, and then there was the bad guy one where the demons could cast without perilsing, but everyone had access to them. And then people figured out that Eldar Psykers were the best things in the game for summoning demons. Because they ignored Perils of the Warp on a 2+ and had loads of psychic dice and rerolls.
Yeah.
I can remember like watching a game at Caledonian Uprising, and I think it was Nick Highland on the table next to me. I think he had his Necrons or something, and he was playing against a Tyrannid army with like then some Farseers and stuff, because they allowed the like come the apocalypse ally tree for some reason. Because I played a game against Dread Knights with demons. Makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
But essentially, it was all of the cheap like units of Zoanthropes and stuff to generate dice for these Eldar Psykers that were then flying around the board summoning demons. And like every time I'd look over, there'd just be more and more like demon stuff on the table. And like you just couldn't tell what was going on or what was fighting what. It's like,
what's amusing is just through you telling this anecdote, I'm picturing Nick sat on a chair, and I can see his face as it's happening.
It's just one of those sorts of, oh no, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if like chaos armies could summon demons using psychic powers? Yeah. And what if
everyone,
we allow, what if we allow everyone to, but like you'll explode if you do it? Yeah, that's fine. Oh no, because the other great one was the old Weird Vein Psyker squads, the guard squads, because they would generate a load of dice, throw a load of dice at summoning demons, instantly perils, but then the commissar just killed one of them, and then they were fine to do it the next turn. So like you were having like these little three like 5-man squads just sat in the backfield, just like pulling out 10 bloodletters a turn and just losing a psyker. It's just like, what? Why does this game exist? Funny to look back on. Like at that time, I was just like, why is this in the game? Funny, definitely funny to look back on it.
My other thought on that would be going back to, I think it was either 5th or 6th edition fantasy with that demon book, where I put together that list that was nicknamed the Triple Anvil. It was that huge block of plague bearers where the entire front rank had been displaced by Palanquins of Nurgle with heralds and Epidemus on it. And then
and Skulltaker.
Yes, because for some reason at the time he didn't have a mark and could therefore join.
He wasn't a herald.
Yeah, that was it. So there was a big distinction. Yeah. So he could go in there and give it magic resistance to, and also be like a little blender like he was. But it was just ridiculous. Like you couldn't flank. Like you got no bonus for flanking it. everything had poisoned attacks, and they went off way easier than they normally would. And then
they would count for like 2 or 3 times over for combat resolution. Yeah. Everything got more intense. And I know this because we played a game, and I charged you on 3 sides with zombies from my Vampire Counts army, and I think my big unit of skeletons in the front, and I lost combat by 128.
Yep.
Which probably isn't supposed to happen.
No. I like to think of it again as a very naive book designer. This is great, and then showed the other naive book designers and none of the play testers. No one would ever do that, and we did. And the best thing was it was the outrage that it caused on the internet.
Because like it took a while to explain why it worked, and it was like and a lot of it was contingent on very, very poor wording of things, but it did work, and I was just like no, we played a game and I lost a combat by 128. Like, I mean, this thing was massive, wasn't it? Because it was
it wasn't even as big as like when they introduced hordes in 8th edition. Like it wasn't that massive, but it was for the time it was huge.
Yeah, but it was just like, oh, why?
It was just a ridiculous stacking of magic banners and characters that probably shouldn't have been able to join units but could.
Yeah.
And the nice thing was it became my teaching ungracious gamers a lesson list, and I got to punish a rather notorious local player with his dwarf gun line, who had been terrorizing kids' beginners days, and then he felt the wrath of the over 100 negative combat modifier. But no, I'll just gun it off the board before it get there. And when I got there, I'd lost 5 plague bearers and then 8 all the dwarves.
Funny time to be alive.
Yep, ridiculous.
Yeah, Warhammer, yeah, so that's pretty cool. So for me, it's really weird because I don't really get emotionally attached to my physical armies. I get like more emotionally attached to like the races themselves. Yeah. It's like I loved my old 4th edition Thousand Sons army, and then that sort of stayed with me all the way through to like 9th edition. And like no matter how many times I like buy Tau armies and get rid of them, like I have a soft spot for Tau. But I mean, like I love my current Drakari army. I love the fact that it's bright and it's gold and it's garish. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I've got a soft spot for that, and my Gene Stealer Cult, just because it's a big plod of models. Tiny angry bold men like me. Yeah. Other than that, like I'm not really emotionally attached. Like I'm a hobby magpie mainly. But that's so that's pretty cool. Sort of another one with obviously the potential return to the real world soon, over the next few months. If you could, what is going to be the first game that you'd want to play, and who would be your favourite opponent to play against?
See, I've been trying to think on this one on and off all day over every cuppa that I've had while I should have been working. I genuinely can't decide. Like I've been distracting myself with doing a little bit of different armies here and there over like the months. So like I really, really want to play with my Death Guard, but at the same time, I also really, really, really want to play with my Fire Slayers or any of the Middle Earth stuff that I've done during all the lockdowns. So I don't know what I want to play. I just know I want to play something. Yeah. I need to play something. I don't care what it is. Yeah. Flip a coin. I will literally play anyone at this point.
Okay, I was going to say I'd want to play you, but you're fine. Yeah, I want to play some 40k.
Yeah.
I love Middle Earth. I love AOS, and I really do want to play those. But
I think I want to play those because I've recently painted some bits for them. But I think I really want to play some 40k because I've done the most work on that while we've been off.
And you've played one game of this edition.
I need another hit. God damn it!
I feel like I played actually quite a substantial amount of this edition because I was lucky enough to run the club in that sort of faux freedom period last year, in sort of like late summer and autumn. But I just want to play some 40k. Like I want to push knights around the table and stomp stuff, and then lament how bad the army actually is.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have to be like the main thing I've been working on. Like at this point, I'd even get the Grey Knights out. I just want to roll some goddamn dice. You know, I remember the other day that I've got that my guard army, and I was like, oh yeah, I wrote that list for ninth. I really want to try that out. Anything, literally anything.
Yes. Yeah, that was sort of the exact sort of, if anybody so we're only because I think it was is it 27th? No, 22nd maybe of March. You can start meeting people in an outside space, including private gardens, something like that. Nobody break the law just because I randomly guessed those dates. That's what I'm looking forward to, because as soon as that's available, I'm going around to my friend's house and I'm playing 40k.
I just want to play some games with any of the immediate Pompey fam, obviously you included. I miss the boys. Yeah. I miss rolling dice. Not even just rolling dice. Like sometimes it would just be the shit we were talking on Paul's sofa while someone else rolled bones.
Yeah. So sort of looking forward to that, because a bunch of the guys have been like, oh yeah, my garden will have tables in it. So yeah, really really excited for that. That's what I want. I just because and not to get too COVID-y hung up on it, but sort of even where we were at last year, where we were running the gaming club on a Thursday night still. Because the circumstances and the way that it was set up, the venue was okay. The venue got it then okay for the local council. I'll stand in a hall for 12 hours wearing a mask if it means I can play 40k. And I think we're close to that. It's a couple of months away, and then the world will be okay again.
That's what I'm not sure how I would feel about going to a big event.
No, and I wouldn't. I would feel hesitant about going to a large event. Definitely, probably this year. But I mean, once I get the vaccine, I'd feel confident enough to start.
I think if
for sure.
If because I've been quite cautious about the whole thing, because I'm convinced if I get it, my gippy lungs will kill me. I just want to have had the jab, and then I know that my immediate friends have had the jab, and then we can just garden hammer. That's enough for me. For sure. I just want that.
Yeah, we're almost there. So that's really good. And sort of, I'm really interested to see. Obviously, I love going to tournaments, and when we had Confrontation in October, I don't think I'd ever seen a group of people, and it was still a small tournament, obviously because of COVID restrictions and spacing and stuff. But where everyone had masks and they couldn't shake hands, people were being overly thoughtful about almost being sporting. Everyone was just sort of, oh, this is weird, isn't it? We're in a mask and we can't shake hands, and it's
it was actually quite nice. I'm really hoping that sort of, everybody in the world has gone through this really horrific experience over the last year or so. And everyone's just a little bit nicer to each other, and nobody needs to be a dickhead.
That'd be nice, but I know what would happen is the first event that I feel safe enough to go to after if everything goes back to normal. I will get drawn against like the guy, like some super competitive asshole that's had to just be on his own, and he lets loose a tsunami of that guy at an event, and then I'll be like, I miss lockdown.
Yeah, so we'll see. So I'm excited for that. Like, yeah, just being able to get out and play some games, like get the local club back up and running, like see some people obviously have not physically seen for quite a while, and then just taking it as it comes. We're almost there, and we're going to do it good. So yeah, I think that's a fairly decent place to sort of round it off. It's not. Apologies, it's not a very incisive show for people this week. It's just Sam and I nattering on about all of our old toys and stuff. But yeah, really. Oh no, there was another one. Sorry. I've lost it. Don't worry about it. Pick it up next time. Yeah. So thank you everybody for listening. Again. Go to Tabletop Standard from the last episode if you have any queries or anything about Titanicus, because it is a really good game. I bought some more stuff and just threw it straight onto the pile.
I've not yet, but I did see from the teasers that new big Titan's coming, so that might finally be the thing that pops me over the edge, I think.
Yeah, he's probably going to be out this month because he's in
El
this
Stupido Titan will. I think that'll be the thing that gets me into it.
Yeah, so if people are interested in Titanicus, go over to Tabletop Standard and listen to our episode last week with Chris. And then if you've got any questions, pop us a message. Hopefully we'll have some more guests, and Ricky will stop working soon. Just to record an episode,
not totally.
No. Oh, sorry. But yeah, that was great. Pop us over any questions, and hopefully we'll have some good news and great content in the future. Any shout outs, Sam?
No one in particular. Just echoing what you said. When we can all get back into a hall and roll some dice, don't be a dick. Be thankful for what you've got back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put it, and probably the episode title. When you get back into the hall, don't be a dick. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for spending the time with me this evening, Sam. And I will see you soon. Thank you, guys. Have a good week.